Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And I continue with Tyranny blind.
I got it.
I'm closing in on the old walls here.
Can't do that.
Hey! That really hurt!
Supposedly there's a legendary Unbroken sword in here that they want me to recover for like morale reasons.
This'll be fun.
Wow. A lot of enemies.
See that? I'm not entirely useless. Take that! On it.
It's good that I didn't drag them all together. Yeah, that's a pretty significant group of enemies right there.
Sorry, I can't.
This'll be fun.
I got it. I'm injured. Get back on your feet! Pay attention, kids. You might learn something.
Watch and learn.
Why is she fighting in melee?
Yeah, idiot! What was I thinking?
Wait, is this it? Dauntless. Raise the Dauntless high, releasing a wave of energy to stun all nearby enemies. Damage increased with the Dauntless renown. This legendary sword was a badge of office for the champion of Stalwart. So many warriors brought Dauntless to battle over the centuries that the presence of the wielder was often less notable than the sword itself, which steered the hopes of Stalwart's armies towards victory, even in the instances when the champion lacked the people's confidence. Dauntless made up for the shortcomings by delivering the promise of victory. The sword's most notable feat of recent memory took place during the Battle of Quelling Field in 398 TR. A Free City's army advanced on Stalwart's farmlands and nearly won the day. When Dauntless was unsheathed, the defending soldiers broke out in a patriotic cheer. This abrupt change of attitude so rattled the Free City's mercenaries that they assumed their forces had changed, and that Stalwart has gained a second wind in battle. It was only days after that their panicked retreat Days after their panicked retreat that they learned of their error. Consequently, the cultural significance of the blade cannot be underestimated. As your hand touches the hilt, a rush of sensation rushes through your arms, as if you had dunked them in warm water. The feeling is at once calming and overwhelming, and it leaves you breathless. I've seen plenty of decorative copies, but this is genuine. The Bane would have not gathered around a mundane imitation. It's the real Dauntless. Deftly snatching a quill and parchment, Lantry begins to sketch the sword. You'll need to hold on to it, for posterity's sake, naturally. As you grow accustomed to the sword weight, your thoughts are drowned out by a perpetual buzz of voices, fragments of inspiring speeches, glorious battle cries, and anticipation of triumph to come. The feeling subsides as quietly as it struck. Dauntless pulses in your hand, its potential desperate for release. Your perspective is divided between holding a sword and holding a living symbol. The distinction at times grows hazy. Okay,
Sorry, I can't.
I thought it would have been inside the old walls. Instead, it was just lying around. Sure, whatever. Let's rest, actually, before I go. Okay, back to here. While making your way, you come across several dense shrubs, liberally dotted with crimson berries. The fruits are plump and ripe, with a thin skin that gives slightly under the pressure of your touch. Let's ask Lantry what he thinks. This is budding rose. He grasps a handful of berries. Consumed even in small quantities, these berries stoke the libidinous humors. Sadly, the berries almost always create dyspeptic calamities in the magically inclined, but sometimes the terrible stomach pains are worth the feeling like a teenager again. He glances down the pouch he just stuffed with the berries. Yeah, let's get some, I guess. You secret the berries away. When checking on them, you find that they've gone slightly off color and mushy. The smell wafting from the fruit reminds you of a corpse. Deciding it might make a worthwhile poison, you bottle the juices. The reeking pulp and the pouch you stored it in, on the other hand, you discard. Do I look like I have time for pleasantries? Go talk to Matthias if you need something. Yeah, but I have the sword that you wanted. Don't you want it anymore?
Yeah, come.
So you've returned. Have you dispatched the chorus by yourself? Yes, but I also have your legendary sword. Are you not interested? The Scarlet Chorus in Trapper's Junction are already dead. Could that be true? How did you even manage? He shakes his head. No matter. I can't thank you enough for your help. To think that the fate I would have consigned us to otherwise. Even a leader may lose heart, but in my case, the lapse is inexcusable. Well, to be honest, you should be a little bit ashamed. They are literally... it's not like... Because I feel like there's a difference between surrendering to an enemy that observes some kind of fundamental rules of war, surrendering to a worthy enemy because you want to spare your soldiers, further death and pain, if the situation is hopeless enough. But the Scarlet Chorus are psychopaths. They would have, best case scenario, turned you into psychopaths, and worst case scenario, just enslave you and torture you relentlessly, and the voices of Nerat would eat your minds. You should be ashamed by this failure of leadership. I'm afraid you're right. Though the Unbroken trace their roots to the old stalwart, we are a young army, and I need seasoning if I am to deserve the honor of leading us. You've given me much to consider. As you've proven yourself a friend, you should know that all our hopes rest in taking back Sentinel Stand. Kairos' edict only rages as long as the Regent bloodline persists, which means that Stridus Herodin is still holed up in his fortress. Before we can get back to him, we need to breach the arcane winds surrounding the keep. I sent Elia, one of my best, to the Rust Canyons. She was looking for remains of Stalwart's first regent and an item of power he carried, the steadfast insignia. If my hunch is correct, the insignia is our key to Sentinel Stand. The last I heard of her, she had determined the regent's last known location. Our communications were cut quickly after that, and I fear the worst. What did she discover, and how do the regents factor into this? The regents were the ruling blood of Stalwart, and each of them carried an item of power. All but one died during the war, and their belongings scattered to places unknown. It troubles me that so much of Stalwart's history lies in unworthy hands. Of all of the regent items, the steadfast insignia is among the most storied and renowned to our people. Elia informed me that she tracked the insignia to a breach in the old walls. I dispatched a team led by Gregos to the task. We need to get inside Sentinel Stand, so I hope you're not afraid of the dark. Tell me about it. It's a pin that was worn by every first regent that our histories can name, most recently by Regent Aspison. They wore it pinned on the noble raiment of highest office, and the sight of the pin flashing on the battlefield galvanized our soldiers to march with pride. It is said that those who bear the steadfast insignia can trudge forward in the face of impossible odds. If through a battlefield, why not a windfall? My hope is that it can clear a path to Sentinel Stand Keep. Once on the other side, we can run a sword through the heart of Stridus Herodin and put an end to the edict. So where do we go from here? Elia might be in trouble, but the hunt for the insignia points us to the bridge in the old walls. I would dispatch you to her aid and march on the insignia myself, but my unit needs to recuperate, and you're not beholden to take my orders, obviously. I will mark the Rust Canyons and the Old Walls Bridge on your map. It's crucial that we recover the insignia, but I would be remiss if I left a good captain to rot in her fort.
Have a look at this.
Sorry, I can't. On it.
Yeah, obviously I will go and... damn it, I should have...
I can't.
I am annoyed that I can't give them the sword back.
Consider it done.
I should have gone for it first.
Right.
And killed them later anyway. I'll go rescue her first. Kairos' magical storms bored through these once fertile hills, creating the winding dust-strewn canyons present today. The process killed both Disfavored and Unbroken soldiers alike, and their corpses remain embedded in the earth.
So many lives extinguished by Kairos' magic. What hope have we against power such as this?
Wedged into the rocks are the iron trappings of the soldiers killed by Kairos' edict. Magical winds sheared away all the flesh, leaving behind only rusting armor and weaponry.
Sorry, I can't.
An unbroken soldier struggles to rise to his feet, one arrow lodged in his shoulder and the other in his thigh. He attempts to stand, but his muscles are too weak for the task. Are you alright, soldier? He turns to you in bafflement, squinting across the dust-strewn expanse, recognition barely evident in his gaze. I can't recognize a friend from foe in those winds. If there's any mercy in your heart, I beg you to help me. Before you can continue, you both catch the sound of iron boots trudging closer. A disfavored soldier calmly approaches from the west. He regards the vulnerable southerner with a curled lip and disapproving shake of his head. Weak and broken, prisoners make for a poor sport. Your escape was spirited but damned foolish. He raises his sword and points at the unbroken man's heart, poised to let it plunge and impale him to the filth-strewn ground. Stop this at once. You're... No, not that Fatebinder from Apex Siege. You may have had the authority to stay my hand before you turn your back on the general, but I'm afraid Ash's orders are the only ones I take. In one swift motion, he plunges the sword into the man's heart, pinning the fallen soldier to the rusted wall. This favored soldier turns to the unbroken camp, frustration evident in his tone, then his gaze shifts over to you and back to the walls. Are these your allies now? Elia, traitors and miscreants who break wars, rather than win them. He shakes his head. Better that you open your gates to me and preserve your dignity. Oh, no, he was talking to her and not to me. He was saying to her, are these your allies now, Elia? Traitors and miscreants? You see a woman stride purposefully into view atop a platform above the wall's edge. She lifts a spear and hurls it at Theodore, causing earth cursing under her breath when it breaks against the rocks. I'm so fucking tired of listening to you. Go shriek at someone else's fortress for a change, and stop trying to impress me by hunting down unarmed prisoners. Maybe the ladies of the north get shivery over your bravado, but all it tells me is that your codpiece is emptier than your skull. She takes note of you with a raised brow. I don't believe we've been introduced. If you're here, maybe my days of shitting in a dirt hole are finished. Scamper back to your Archon, with your tail twixt your legs, Theodore. I think my reinforcements arrived first. I gave you a chance to surrender and be my camp slave. When I hoist you onto a pike, remember that you had a choice. He glares at you and steps back into the obscurity of the winds. Yeah, I am going to kill you all as well. Like, I'm sorry,
Yes.
but I'm pretty sure time for diplomacy is kind of over. I see others try to take this place, with painful results. The unbroken captain looks down from her elevated position, resting a heavy boot atop an axe buried into the wooden slats. She grips its handle as you approach. What do we have here? I got a bird from Matthias that told me to expect you. Didn't believe my eyes at first. He normally doesn't get this excited, so I took it for a chorus trick. Sorry for doubting. If Matthias says that you're important to the Unbroken, then I'm willing to believe that sentimental dung heap. I am Elia, the leader of this, she gestures to the sorry camp behind her, this hovel of dust-choked worms. You're late, but not so untimely that we can't make use of you. The Disfavored showed up first and surrounded the camp. A short few clashes later, we had to pull back. We've sent ravens with pleas for aid, but our enemies kept shooting them down off the skies. I lost some fucking talented birds today, and it hasn't improved my mood. Why haven't the Disfavored finished off this fort? I'm not sure. Maybe they are content to wait, now that we're stuck. I have my suspicion that the soldiers we've seen are only an advance force, and more are coming. We're looking for a way into Sentinel's stand. So is everyone and their sister. The Unbroken are hedging a lot of bets on getting inside Sentinel's stand ahead of the Disfavored, so we can end the Edict of Storms. She lowers her face to her palms. If the old regent would do the honorable thing and die for his country, this wouldn't be a problem. All of this aside, I came here on Matthias' orders with a small group. We weren't supposed to draw attention, she shrugs, and you've seen how that has gone. Rust Canyons sit atop the resting place of the fallen regents, who each carried a powerful artifact that could help us against the storms. The siege is in the middle of a great big salvage operation. I came on the behalf of a coalition of rebels united against Kairos. If I help you, will you hear us out? She regards you with incredulity. Do I look like I have time to hear about anyone else's problems? The Disfavored have a sword to my throat. If you can wrestle them off me, you will have my undivided attention. If we're going to take back Stalwart, we need the artifacts that the Regent carried into war. They are the only hope we have of crossing the wind wall into Sentinel's Stand. What was it you said about the Regents? According to Kairos' edict, the storm will only abate when the last of the royal bloodline falls. We hear... What? We hear tell that the last region is buttoned up all safe and secure inside the walls of Sentinel's Stand. Unless the final scion of their line charitably kills himself, the storms aren't going anywhere. We need a better defense against the winds, and that means artifacts. How can they help us? The strength of Stalwart was reinforced by old magic, storied artifacts that could turn soldiers into living walls, or cut through an enemy line with unstoppable force. We can't end an edict with an artifact, but we might be able to resist Kairos' storms with them. Were you able to find something? She frowns and glances off. Not exactly. Not what we were looking for in any case. Specifically, we've been hunting for the Steadfast insignia. I can work with you on recovering it, but we won't get far unless we deal with those Disfavored. What needs to be done? In the long run, we seek vengeance against the Disfavored for tearing Stalwart to bits, and the last Regent for betraying us when we needed his courage. For now, I'll be pleased if we can hold this fort against the Disfavored. The fight will come to us whether we are prepared or not. My scouts have reported Disfavored forces closing in, so it would be in your best interest to arm yourself for battle. We could always use an edge on the battlefield. She studies you and nods. Some of our men are captive to the Disfavored outside of camp. Deal with Kairos' soldiers and rescue ours, and we'll give you a few more warm bodies to hurl at our enemies. She stands taller against the harsh winds. The sooner Theodore joins his countrymen as a corpse, the sooner I get to leave this garbage heap. Okay.
Right.
Defeat Theodore and his soldiers. Sure. I will go and do that.
Can't do that. Can't do that.
A rugged stalwart banner sways gently in the wind, marking the site of the original where the original owner died during the casting of the Edict of Storms.
Slow down. Let's take a closer look. Can't do that.
Forgebound? The lieutenant holds up his sword as he squints through the obscurity of the high winds. Who goes there? Oh, it's you, Fatebinder. I wish you didn't have to witness that crude exchange before. Elia and her lot have caused me no lack of trouble. Normally I would welcome a servant of the court, but Asha told me to keep an eye out for traitors stepping on our territory. Rust Canyon is ours, and we will shatter the so-called Unbroken for the glory of the General. If you intend to get in our way, then by Ash's command, I will have no choice but to end you. No need for your best soldiers to sacrifice themselves on my account. I'm only interested in taking your head. I don't know what you think you're buying with those honeyed words, but I can guarantee it isn't worth the effort. He turns to his unit with a humored smirk. One of the soldiers blanches in terror. He quickly glances to the others, wavering with his indecision. He clears his throat with a gentle cough, and then bolts away from the conflict to come. You better run faster than the Legion. We'll find you, traitor. He turns red with sudden fury, spittle flying as he barks orders. Men, to arms! Kill the Fatebinder and hold this position.
You have no hope! Ow!
That's how it's done.
Ow! Ugh, this weapon is junk.
Right.
Well, that did nothing, except tick them off.
Sorry, I can't.
If I must. I need healing. Well, that did nothing, except tick them off.
I need to try a different tactic. This isn't working.
Okay.
I bet I could crack that open.
From within the cage, a beaten and weary figure whispers to you, "Are we free to go? You've been released. Return to your comrades." At last, one of them sighs as the prisoners crowd the exit. I thought we'd for sure be shipped off to Candle Mountains. As the prisoners turn to leave, the last one grabs your hand and says, "Thank you, stranger. Were it not for you, I shudder to think what they would have done to us."
Yes. Can't do that.
Thank you, Fatebinder. Your deeds may just turn the tide. She scans the distant canyon as the sounds of approaching force grows in volume. They are coming. Get inside. We'll open the gate for you.
Sorry, I can't.
Good timing. Our lookouts reported that the Disfavored are making for this encampment. She looks out at the canyons. Never thought I would see myself fight so hard to defend the garbage furrow in the Kairos be damned dirt. We've done a fair job of digging our claws into the area, but we're not equipped to stand against the Disfavored iron for long. Can you help us? What's the status of your defenses? Our northern and southern barricades are well reinforced. The eastern gate was wrecked earlier, and we didn't have time rebuilding it. If the enemy is going to get inside, odds are they will try from the east. Let's ready ourselves for battle. They are here. Defend the eastern gate. I'll prepare the main gate for the next wave. And quickly, make for the eastern gate before it falls. Yeah, I probably shouldn't be looting their camp right now, in the middle of this attack.
Your days end here! On it. Take that! Sorry, I can't. Right.
Do you hear that? Enemies at the west gate.
On it. That's how it's done.
I've had far worse.
On it. Yes. On it.
These bones cannot be broken. These feet cannot be moved.
That's how it's done.
Oh, if I had an iron ring for every dumbass mistake of
More bodies will pile in our wake.
This weapon is entirely worthless. Right. I got it.
Where are more enemies?
So
The scavengers have used the environment to help build their camp. The makeshift tent is comprised of a large patchwork of cloth held aloft, in part by the spikes of the earth.
can't do that.
You already know this sigil. Yeah, but what I don't know is where the rest of the enemies are.
You have no hope.
Take that!
Oh, if I had an iron ring for every dumbass mistake of mine. Ow!
You learn something every day. Can't do that. shit?
Nothing to see here. Just holding my guts.
Take that! On it.
Oh, this weapon is like nipples on men.
Elia nods at you, her face showing the hint of appreciative smile. Less than I anticipated, it seems their full force is yet to arrive. Her eyes dart about the fallen enemies, searching for familiar faces. No commanders here, then. A few distant horn blasts pierce the winds from the south. That's probably the rest. We can expect far more than the initial assault. We won't survive the day if we stay here. Our walls have been compromised, and the wind grows stronger still. She points north. That's our only route. Theodore sent men to hold the northern junkyard. We have a chance with them, but only if we act now. Help me one more time, and I'll tell you what I know about getting inside Sentinel's stand. You must be careful. We're trapped. We have trapped the terrain north of the camp. Step lightly and rally to the northwestern plateau. If we defeat the soldiers stationed there, we have a clear escape route. What of you and your soldiers? We'll bandage the wounded and ease the passing of those that can't follow. We're in no shape to join you, not after the attack. Very well, I'll go. One more thing. Not all of my men made it behind the walls. My hope is that they are hiding in the northern canyons and still well enough to travel. If you find any of my crew, give them a chance to escape while there's still time. What about you? I thought the Disfavored would have us in chains by now. It's a good thing you were passing through the area. She winks and jingles a heavy ring belt. Of course, nobody just passes through the Blade Grave. Wherever it is you're headed, you'll need provisions to get where you're going. I've scrounged a few things worth trading. Is it dangerous working with the Unbroken? Only if they aren't well equipped. I have plenty of reasons for making sure they have access to only the finest weapons and supplies. And that extends to their allies as well. What are you offering? Have a look for yourself. No doubt something will spark your interest. Well, actually, probably won't. Adds a defensive bonus every time the thrust ability is used. It's pretty cool actually, because I use it all the time. Oh, this is pretty awesome.
Can't do that. Sorry, I can't.
What's in here? It looks kind of interesting.
Curious.
And the smell of men
Fatebinder. There are prisoners in that pit over there.
soaking in their own waste rises up from the spear-lined pit used to keep prisoners.
Can't do that.
I wasn't paying attention to what it is that I picked.
Sorry, I can't. Can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do that.
Can we talk?
Can't do that.
You there! A voice cries out from within the pit. Dead soldiers, skewered on spears, litter the pit with a few survivors. The unbroken dogs have left us here to bleed and rot. Help us, please. We have information, valuable information known only to the Disfavored. Give us freedom, and we'll tell you what we know. Apparently I don't have that option, so we'll just stay there for now.
Can't do.
I could bargain with you, but apparently my options are to kill you or to, like, belittle you about your, unlucky situation, so I guess you're staying there.
Can't do that. Can't do that. Sorry, I can't. Can't do that.
Though the soldiers of Old Stalwart were ripped apart by the magic of Kairos' edict, many of their battle standards still remain upright, reminders of their heroic fight against the Disfavored. The path is blocked by an enormous boulder. Roll the boulder. Hold! The soldiers, weary from lack of nourishment, scramble to draw weapons and snap to attention as the apparent leader steps forward. I don't recognize you. Are you with the Unbroken? Yes, we helped Elia defend the camp. There's still time to escape. That's a relief, he says, dropping his guard. We thought you were here to kill us. Our hope to escape is the canyon, but until Kairos' forces leave, we're stuck here. Is the area clear of hostiles? I will scout the area and let you know if Kairos' patrols are still lurking about. The campfire smells of rust and burned hair. Whoever built it struggled with the Rust Canyon's scarcity of kindling.
More bodies to pile in our wake!
This weapon is entirely worthless. This is useless. I should try something else. I got it.
It's a tough job being so remarkable all the time. Hey, nobody saw that, right?
Anyone else want some of this?
Okay, that's quite a damaging spell. It creates a powerful nova of water that repels all nearby enemies, and it's an AoE as well. Do I want anything more from this? Yeah, I guess potentially this and this.
Have a look here.
Okay, that was stupid. Especially because they told me the
This is
area
useless. I should try something else.
the area is booby trapped.
Oh, wrong weapon for the job. I need to try something else.
Wait, I did that? Nice!
I need to try a different tactic. This isn't working.
I'm injured. This is useless. I should try something else.
This weapon is like nipples on men. Useless.
Right.
The equipment of both Disfavored
I
and
can't.
Unbroken soldiers are embedded on those jagged rocks. The destruction of Kairos' edict did not distinguish ally from enemy.
Sorry, I can't.
I really like this location in terms of aesthetics. It's really kind of trippy, you know, those hundreds of bodies.
Fury.
Nothing to see here.
Just impaled.
Just hold my god.
I got it.
Can't stop me.
Harsh words would cause more harm than this useless weapon.
Right. This weapon is entirely worthless. I got it. I got it.
Fatebinder. I lost soldiers in the attack. Good northerners who won't see their homes again. So send their eyes to the north. Well, I don't care. You're attacking them. Like, you are the invaders. You can't be salty. I talked about it a number of times, but it keeps coming up. You can't be salty about losing in a war of conquest. Like, those people are defending themselves. Why are you acting offended when they succeed? So send their eyes to the north. What do I care? You have no respect for our values, our mission, or our lives. Tunon was wrong to give you a scrap of power. Graven Asher will never forget this. His anger is something only an Archon could comprehend. I hope for your sake that you have the decency to die here. Attack the Fatebinder. Yeah, that's kind of your problem.
What?
You're going to die because you attacked me. Like, you didn't have to attack anyone. Really.
Can't do that. I got it.
I need to try a different weapon.
Can't do that.
For the glory of Kairos!
Try a different tactic. This isn't working.
I got it. Will do.
I need to try a different weapon.
I need to try a different tactic. This isn't working. Idiot! What was I thinking?
This is embarrassing.
The battle is over. The clash of iron and bronze that filled the air has ended, leaving only the storm's wails and the last rugged gasps of a dying soldier. Elia ascends to the path of the blood-soaked plateau and moves towards you, pointedly stepping over a disfavored corpse, the way one would over a fallen log. She nods at you, her face showing a hint of appreciative smile. Many thanks. We won't forget how you bled with the Unbroken. Since we're both still standing, I will keep my word. You were looking for the artifact, right? Aye, and we've been searching for some time. She glances around with evident exhaustion. You try finding anything useful in this garbage heap. Matthias sent us hunting for the remnants of the Regent Aspison. Before the war, he was known for carrying an artifact known the Steadfast Insignia. Her eyes twinkle as she says the name. What did you learn about the Regent? We were looking to find the Regent's body. Instead, we found records of his past movements. Just after the edict hit, he was on his way to what we now know is the breach in the old walls. I couldn't say what he thought he would find there, except its wild dwellers and an early death. She frowns. If he planned on unleashing the Bane on the Disfavored, I might have told him he was as dumb as Ash's hammer. We sent a small team led by one of our best, Gregos, to investigate the breach. It is said to be a cursed place, crawling with Bane. Likely as not, the Steadfast Insignia is there. Gregos travels with a small contingent of sages. Who better to bring on an expedition than some dusty librarian? Dusty? That's ridiculous. We sages spend far too much time running for our lives to ever collect dust. How did the breach form in the old walls? Damn fine question. Either the Edict of Storms blasted a hole in the ancient stones, or something blasted its way out. Speculation like this is the stuff of nightmares. What is the Steadfast Insignia? It's a symbol of stalwart determination in battle. Before the war, Regent Aspison wore it pinned to his cloak, and his soldiers grew more daring on the battlefield when they saw him enter the fray. They say it can marshal forces to stand against any threat, and give them strength to march with purpose without taking harm. When you think about it, I'll bet the insignia could let an army stand against Kairos' wind wall. You could even stride into sentinel stand like you were enjoying clear skies. So where do we go from here? Away from Rust Canyons. I received word that they are still disfavored in the area, but it sounds like the Legion is in full retreat. I doubt they are in a hurry to feed many more bodies to the storm. You've been quite an asset to the Unbroken. Considering the victories you've earned us, I would say you deserve all the praise we can heap on you, come the war's end. Thank you again for everything. I know there's still much to be done at the Old Walls Bridge and elsewhere. If you have any questions, my time is yours. How do I get to the local spire? There's no direct road, but a bridge in the Old Walls is said to lead to the Ocean Spire's floor. If you're dead set on making the journey, you'll come across worse foes than the Unbroken. Okay,
Will do.
I'll explore the rest of this location before I move on. Although seemingly there is not that much left to explore. Pretty much nothing, to be honest. I'll just return to those guys and tell them that they are free to leave. The path is clear. My thanks. We are eager to reunite with the rest of our group. The men gather their gear and depart.
Ah, got it. I got it.
Damaging enemies in a cone. I really hope there was more space on the sort of quick bar, because I keep forgetting that there are other things, you know, around here. Scouts have recently confirmed the presence of an opening leading into the old walls at this location. The immediate area is likely dangerous, given the high risk of bane infestation. The breach is not far from the site where the Unbroken regent, Epistratos, famously clashed with the Disfavored forces at the close of the war. You crest a rise in the road, revealing an expansive vista before you. The winds of Kairos' edict howl through the blade grave, driving clouds of rust and grit through the ravines, gouged by the maelstrom. The arcane storm has twisted, corroded iron and bronze into jagged formations that arc high above the land. In the distance, you espy the tempest of a barbed silhouette, unmoving against the horizon. It towers aside a shallow gully, offering a momentary respite. Approach it. By some combination of erosion and accretion, the structure is significantly narrower at its base and its apex, expanding upward like a bloom of an enormous alloyed tulip. As you approach, you catch the sight of a bent remains of several banner poles, one of which even bears the tattered remains of a standard, little more than a few wispy threads whipping in the wind. You hold a hand against the wind to get a better look at the formation. The arcane edifice rises above you, an overwhelming plain of the shattered detritus broken by the rare glimpse of bone or dried flesh. Desiccated strands of human organs dangle darkly, snapping in the wind like bullwhips. Empty eye sockets peer down from you from the shadowed helms. Some of the metal looks salvageable. Alternatively, you could try ascending the tower by the jutting thorns. Yeah, let's climb it. Tightly gripping the curved spines above you, you raise to your feet and find some purchase with your boots. As you pull yourself up, your back and forearms ache. Time dilates as you pull yourself higher, one hand after the other. And it feels like hours pass before you find an alcove deep enough to offer some respite. You climb into it, breathing heavily, and are surprised to find a large fissure among the rusted stalactites. You lower yourself into it and find yourself in a small, dim room, illuminated only by the threads of daylight peeking in through the windswept metal spines. Smooth stones compose the floor, and the splintering remains of a wooden post bear up the 5 corners. A sizable square opening, framed with worn wood and bearing a pair of broken hinges, is sunken into the floor, descending deeper into darkness. This is very stupid, and I wouldn't do it in real life, but I will in a game, because if I die down there, you know, then I can always reload. Lower yourself into the dark. You drop a torch into the hole, and when nothing hostile responds, gingerly lower yourself through the door. You feel your feet find purchase on a ladder of holes cut into stone, allowing you to climb easily down. After retrieving the torch, you discover yourself within a quiet pentagonal room shattered by the edict raging outside. Judging from the shattered arrow slot, the racks of verdigris-coated weapons, and the empty armor stands, this was once a watchpost of old stalwart. The scent of decay and old feces permeate the air. For the most part, the room is disappointingly barren. A table stands against the wall with some simple dust-coated dishes. Clothes are piled under some moth-eaten hammocks. As you pass the torch over one corner, you find the jumbled remains of a watchman. The broken bones and disarray of the skeleton suggests a violent demise, as do human-sized teeth marks. Finally, you see a corpse in the corner, in a leathery skin, largely intact save for a gaping wound in its abdomen, from which long-dried organs spilled and congealed into a single mass. The body is folded over an old war axe. You brush the dust from the handle and find the wood intricately worked in the ocean iconography so common to the tiers. Taking the weapon's haft in both hands, you pull it from the dead man's abdomen. You reward it with an iron-handed axe of unusual quality. The preternaturally sharp blade reflects, or perhaps glows with, a faint green light. Prize in hand, you leave as you continue towards your destination. This axe boasts a sharply honed dark iron blade set into a bronze haft, imprinted with the sigil of Pox, Archon of Ruin. The head of the weapon feels unpleasantly cold to the touch and pulses with a faint, sickly glow. Though you found the weapon abandoned in the belly of a corpse in the blade grave, you suspect that it made its way from the south, made its way south from the lands of Kairos, where iron weapons see much more wider use. Okay, but this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save it here and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!